Hi, scholars. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Before we do today's read aloud, I want you to think for a minute about who we have been talking about these past few lessons. Okay, we've been talking about George Washington, right, and his life, right, and who he was, different characteristics about George Washington, okay? But I want you to think for a minute, okay, about some of the important moments in George Washington's life, okay? From the things that we've read so far, what were some of the important moments in George Washington's life, okay? And then maybe you can share those things with the people around you. And then maybe you can also share why you felt those moments were important, okay? So just so you know, George Washington wasn't the only founding father, okay, of our country. Each of the founding fathers had a special role to play, okay, had a special job, okay, and each person had a special talent, okay. They had they had a special talent to help the country, to help lead the country, okay. So if you don't know what a talent is something that you're good at. Okay, so for example, maybe maybe some of you have a talent of singing. Maybe you're really good at singing. Maybe some of you are really good at running. Maybe you run super, super fast. Okay, maybe some of you have a special talent of drawing. Maybe you're just a good artist and you know how to draw really well. Okay, or maybe some of you have a good talent of making somebody laugh. Maybe you're a comedian, okay, and you're really good at making somebody laugh, okay? That is what a talent is, okay? And Mrs. G has a talent, well, I think is a talent anyway. Mrs. G loves to do photography. I love to take pictures and then I love to edit them. I have a nice camera that I like to use and I like to take pictures of everything. I like to take pictures of animals and flowers and people, all different kinds of things. And that's Mrs. G's talent, okay? So I'm pretty sure that you all have pretty special talents, okay? So in today's read aloud, you're going to learn about another one of our founding fathers, okay? So we learned about George Washington. We're going to learn about somebody else, okay? And he became the third president of the United States, okay? So George Washington was the first president of the United States, and this person was the third president of the United States, okay? And his name was Thomas Jefferson, okay? And his special talent was writing. So writing, okay? That was his special talent, okay? So as Mrs. G is reading along, I want you to carefully listen about, or for details about Thomas Jefferson's talent and what he did with his talent, okay? So his talent was writing. What special things did he do with his writing, with his talent, okay? And then I want you to think about why his talent would make him a good leader. Why his talent would make him a good leader. That's what I want you to think about while Mrs. G is reading, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen with you, as always. So you can follow along to our read aloud today, and you can see the pictures. Let me get rid of this. All right, so again, still on presidents and American symbols. And today's lesson, the title is Thomas Jefferson's pen. Pen. So this is a pen, right? So we're gonna learn about Thomas Jefferson's pen and his special talents, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and begin. Okay, you are learning to read and write. So in kindergarten, we have been learning to read some words and write, right? Okay, so one day you will be able to pick up almost any book and you'll be able to open it up and you'll be able to read the book. You'll be able to read the words that it says, okay? How wonderful would that be, okay? Of course, someone wrote those words. People who write books are called authors, okay? So an author is another word for writer. So whoever writes the book is the author. Now, when Mrs. G reads to her class, when I read books, I always tell you who wrote the book. I always give you the title of the book, and then I tell you the author of the book, so you know who wrote it, okay? And that's what an author is. The person is another word for writer, okay? Okay. Our third president Thomas Jefferson was a great reader because he wanted to learn about many different things. He owned more books than anyone else in the country. He once said, "I cannot live without books." How many of you feel that you could never live without books? I know there's a lot of good readers out there who love to read books. Would you be able to survive without books at all? Thomas Jefferson was also one of the best writers ever to live in the United States. He wrote words that are still famous all around the world, even though he wrote them a long time ago. Let me tell you about the most famous words he ever wrote. It was long past midnight. The guests at the inn wanted to sleep, but they could not. Thomas Jefferson was keeping them awake. They could hear him pacing. Okay, so he was pacing back and forth in the room. And when Mrs. G says the word pacing, it means he's walking back and forth. He's restless. He can't stay still. He's just walking back and forth, okay? They could hear him pacing in his room and talking to himself. The guests thought, "We will complain to the manager of the inn tomorrow. She must ask Mr. Jefferson to be quiet. At least he has stopped playing his fiddle." So he used to play his fiddle too, and you can see that I think that looks like a fiddle maybe that's sitting on there. Maybe. Let me tell you about, Miss G messed up. Hold on, Miss G lost her spot. Here we go. "We will complain to the manager of the inn tomorrow. She must ask Mr. Jefferson to be quiet. At least he has stopped playing his fiddle. He says it helps him think, but it keeps us awake." So he would play his fiddle to help him think, but he wasn't thinking about the other people that might be awake because of him playing the fiddle, right? Sorry, Mrs. G got my words all mixed up. Thomas Jefferson was a wonderful writer. He wrote about what he grew on his farm and how he grew it. He wrote about music and art. He wrote about the best ways to design and construct houses and buildings. He wrote about the Native Americans who had come to America long before the colonists, right? And the colonists are people who, like the Pilgrims, left one country to settle another, okay? But they're also ruled by the country where they came from, okay? And that's what colonists are. He wrote about animals and birds. He wrote about how to be a good friend. He wrote about nearly everything because nearly everything interested him. At the time, however, Jefferson was trying to write a very important document or paper about one special thing. Thomas Jefferson was trying to write about liberty. Does that word sound familiar to you? Liberty? What does that mean? Think about liberty. What do you think that means? We talked about it. Could you say freedom? Good job. He thought people should be free to make most decisions for themselves without a king or a queen or government trying to tell them what to do all the time. Of course, he thought there should be laws to stop crimes and that government should help save people from enemies' armies and things of that sort. In general, however, he thought that government is best which governs least, meaning the less the government tells people what they can or cannot do, the better. In writing about liberty, Jefferson wanted to choose the best words so that people reading his writing would understand and agree with his ideas. Why was Thomas Jefferson writing this document? Like his friend George Washington, Jefferson thought that the King of England was not being fair to the colonists in America. It was time to start a new country and not be part of England anymore. Not everyone in the colonies felt that way, though. Jefferson, Washington, and their friends needed to give good, strong reasons to make this big change. Leaders from all over America met to talk about what to say. They chose 5 people to work on a document explaining the reasons for a new nation. And they said, "Thomas Jefferson, you are a wonderful writer. You write it." So they wanted him to write the document. I wonder what this document is. One of the people working with Jefferson was John Adams. Jefferson and Adams were great friends, though Adams was as different as he could be from Jefferson. John Adams lived in the North, Thomas Jefferson in the South. Adams was short and round. Jefferson was tall and thin. Adams loved to talk, especially in front of a crowd. Jefferson loved to read and write, but was shy in front of people. However, they were alike in one thing. They agreed it was time to start a new nation. Since John Adams was older, Jefferson suggested, "John, you should write the paper explaining our ideas." "No, Thomas," Adams replied. "I have angered so many people by arguing for a new country that some of them do not like me. They may not want to help us start a country if they know that I wrote the paper announcing it. Everyone likes you, though, so they will be more likely to help. Besides, you are a better writer than I am. You will find the best way to say everything." So now Thomas Jefferson wanted to make this document the best thing he had ever written. He would call it the Declaration of Independence. Okay, let's say that together. Declaration of Independence. And a declaration is a statement or announcement. A declaration is a statement or announcement, and independence is another word for freedom. So this document is called the Declaration of Independence, a statement for freedom, okay? Jefferson wanted to explain to people that America could work as a new nation, different from any other that had ever been in the world. He thought about every word before he wrote it down, becoming so worried that he could not sleep at night. That is why he was waking up all the time and walking up and down in his room, speaking about the words he was deciding to use: life, liberty, and what should come next. The pursuit of happiness, he told himself. At last, he picked up his pen and began to write. He started writing his words. On the 2nd of July, Jefferson finished his declaration and showed it to John Adams and the others working with him, who suggested a few small changes. Jefferson's declaration said that every person should feel safe to live, to be free, and to decide what to do in order to be happy. He wrote that everyone, not only kings or queens, had the right to do these things. Jefferson's declaration said that this was the reason to start a new nation, the United States of America. His friend, John Adams, smiled and said, "I told you, Thomas, you were the man to write it." Two days after Jefferson finished the Declaration of Independence, on the 4th of July, that might sound familiar to you, okay, on the 4th of July, the other leaders voted to officially begin our country, independent from England, so separate from England. That is why we call the 4th of July Independence Day. So Independence Day is the day that we declared our independence or freedom from England. And that's why we celebrate 4th of July. You might remember that you celebrate 4th of July maybe by watching the fireworks. Maybe you have a barbecue with your family. You're celebrating that freedom, okay? After the new nation was born, Americans read Thomas Jefferson's document again and again wherever they were deciding how the country should work. People in other countries said, "We want to be free too," and followed America's example by making changes in their countries. Jefferson's words about liberty changed people's lives all over the world. Wow, those must have been some really, really great words to change people's opinions and decisions all over the world, huh? 13 years later, after Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and after the colonists won the American Revolution against England, George Washington became the first president of the United States. And we learned that already, right? Later, when Washington announced, "I have been president long enough. Let someone else have a turn." Jefferson's friend, John Adams, became our second president. And here's John Adams, so it goes in order, right? First, second, and third. George Washington, okay? John Adams, who was Jefferson's friend, okay, became our second president. 4 years later, Thomas Jefferson, which is here, he's right here, he became the third president of the United States. And many people believe he was one of the best presidents America has had. Okay, so we have George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson. George Washington was the first president of the United States. John Adams was the second president of the United States. And Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States. Okay? Whenever he was not sure about what to do, Jefferson read the words himself he had written. They always helped him make good decisions, and they are still helping us today. So these words are still helping the United States of America as we sit here today. That's really cool, huh? I think so. Do you maybe recognize this statue? Do you know what it's called? It's the Statue of Liberty. When America celebrated the 100th birthday of the Declaration of Independence, the government of France built the Statue of Liberty as a gift to America. Wow, that was really nice. France wanted to show how much they admired. And when I say that somebody admired something, it means that they were thought of with respect. They looked up to them, right? They thought of them with respect, okay? Thomas Jefferson wrote about so beautifully in the Declaration of Independence, and that's why they wanted to give this gift to you, the United States of America. So whenever you see this famous statue, remember how hard Thomas Jefferson worked to declare that every person should be free. Okay, I want to share a really cool fact with you. Okay, the United States of America, okay, well, Mrs. G was actually born in New Jersey. Mrs. G lived in New Jersey for a really long time, okay? And New Jersey is next to New York City, okay? And Mrs. G actually visited the Statue of Liberty. And you know what you can do with the Statue of Liberty? You can go inside here and you can climb up. You can climb all the way up. There are stairs inside. So you can enter it. There's like a door, okay? It stands really, really tall. And you can enter it and you can climb the stairs. Isn't that really cool? It's really neat, huh? Okay, so here's what I want you to do, okay? I want you to look at this picture. You're gonna do it. This is our think, pair, share. You're gonna share it with yourself or share it with somebody around you, okay? And you're gonna you're gonna look at this picture. First of all, what is this picture? Do you remember what it was called? We just said it, okay? So you're gonna share with somebody, what is this picture of? What is this called, okay? And what do you think of when you see this? When you see this statue, what do you think of? Okay? Do you remember what it was for and who gave it to us and why they gave it to us? So what do you think of when you see this? Okay? That's your think, pair, share, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and go over our vocabulary words, our new words that you may have heard. And our first word is colonist. Can you say that with Mrs. G? Colonist. Colonists are a group of people who live in a colony in a new country or area, but are still ruled by the country they came from. Okay, so they're still ruled from the country that they came from. Okay, colonist. Okay, declaration. Can you say declaration with Mrs. G? Declaration. Declaration is a statement or announcement. Okay, so I'll give you a little example, like a sentence that has the word declaration in it. An example would be, the boy made a declaration to his teacher that he would never again be late for class. The boy made a declaration to his teacher that he would never again be late. So he made an announcement or a statement to his teacher, a declaration saying that I am never going to be late again. I promise. Okay, and that's what a declaration is. Okay, and our next word is authors. Okay, and authors are they're writers of books. They also could be writers of different reports or articles. Okay, and here's an example. A sentence would be, my favorite authors write books about animals. Okay, it's a person who writes the book. And it could be more than one person who actually writes the book. It's not always just one person, okay? And then our last word is admired. Say that with Mrs. G, admired. And admired means thought of with respect, like you're looking up to someone or something, okay? Looked up to. And a sentence, an example would be, John admired his older sister because she worked so hard and did so well in school. So maybe you have an older sister or a brother that you might admire because you see them working so hard and you want to be like them. You're looking up, you admire that person. Okay, so that's what admired means, okay? All right, so those were our vocabulary words for this lesson. For your assessment, okay, I am going to find my paper that has the assessment written down on it so I can share it with you. You have 2 questions, just 2 questions you're gonna write down on a piece of paper, okay? And you're gonna answer them, just write them down. You might need help with mom or dad, and that's okay. Your first question is, what was Thomas Jefferson's talent? Remember we began our lesson, we talked about talents, right? And I told you my talent was photography, and maybe you had a special talent. Maybe you could run really, really fast, or maybe you can sing really, really well, or you can draw. Well, what was Thomas Jefferson's talent? Okay, so you're gonna write that down. What was his talent? Okay, and the second one is, why was Jefferson pacing in the hotel? So do you remember pacing? Pacing means that he was walking back and forth, walking back and forth. He couldn't rest. He was restless. He was pacing. He couldn't sleep. And even his neighbors underneath him on the lower floor, they couldn't sleep and they were going to complain. Well, why was he doing that? Why was Jefferson pacing in his hotel? Okay, so those are your just 2 questions. Send them over to your homeroom teacher, and we will get those in the book. Okay, that's all for today. All right, so Mrs. G will see you tomorrow, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.